You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
This is episode 754 of the Dressage Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network, brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products.
On today's show, USA Para Riders. Wow, they're on fire. Ellie Brimmer comes on the show and shares all of her success at the festival and her trip to the Paris Olympics. Evvie Lancione explains all of the new exciting things happening at USDF. Last, Nancy Jaffer shares her experiences of riding through with Debbie McDonald.
This is Reese Koffler-Stanfield in Georgetown, Kentucky.
And I am Megan McIsaac, and you're listening to the Dressage Radio Show.
Hi there, Megan. How are you?
Hey, Reese. I want to hear about regionals.
I'm on horse show hangover day 4. It's still hungover. No, it was great. We had a super horse show. Like, congratulations to everyone who went to regionals and to Kentucky Dressage Association that put on our regionals. It was huge. There were, oh my gosh, 7 rings, 6 rings.
Whoa.
I mean, there were so many. There were many
Whoa.
rings, hundreds of volunteers, so many volunteer hours. We had perfect weather, except on Friday, we had that hurricane come through. And so that was a little rainy, not going to lie. And thankfully, it didn't really impact anyone. But I've got a couple riders to shout out to. Laura Crow, who rides and owns Mare Ibred. Her name is Hannah. She won the Intermediate 2 this year and really won it, like really, really good. She also qualified at the Grand Prix. She was 3rd in the Grand Prix. So that was exciting. And then I got to get yeah, that was awesome. So we're going to finals with Hannah. So that's thrilling. And then we have to also Mandy Enfinger, I've got to give her a thumbs up if she's listening. Mandy is the newest silver medal for USDF. Woo! And it's so exciting because this horse that she has, and she's had her for 8 years, she got her off of Craigslist. So yes. And Mandy's a mom of 2, working mom. I mean, she works in a lab and she's working and she has multiple different side gigs to pay for the horses, and her husband, Sean, they're awesome people. So Mandy, shout out to you, silver medalist. So we just had great time. I had like 12 students there who kept me busy running around. Yeah.
Whoa.
Follow me.
Survive that. That's a lot of students.
I appreciated you checking on me. You were doing well.
I know. I was like, are you still alive?
Yeah, it was a lot. And Mary Pillar rode Follow Me, who is looking for his new home. And she did a wonderful, wonderful job. He was 8th in the I-1 championships and then actually won the Open Intermediate 1 on Friday with a really super score. So that was exciting. I know, that was thrilling. So just lots of good stuff. My baby horse went. Okay, Megan, I'm not going to lie. I did not show him because, of course, Reese didn't even know where her show coat was. Like, Reese was it was by the time we got to Saturday, I just talked to Mary Rose, who's been on the show. And I just told her, I was like, can you just please, he was exhausted. I was pretty close to exhausted. And he just hacked around. He went to not into the actual award ceremony, but went down and watched the award ceremony and was so well behaved. And it was just a great experience for him. And my students all had fun. One of the things that happens to us here at the horse park, we have lots of shows, but we usually have like a trailer park, like there's trailer in, and all my students, like we just like line up and just have a big time out in the trailer parking. But we actually got to stable there and, spend some time and all sit around and joke and laugh. And I think everybody had a really good time. So it was some of my riders' first time going. Shout out to them. It's a lot. I mean, there was actually a note on regional, actually on Facebook. I shared it, but I wanted to read it, Megan, because if you're going to regionals, these are some really good. And Beth Davidson was on her Facebook page. So here are her notes. Once your horse comes to the horse park, your horse can't leave the grounds if you're in the regional classes. So that's important to remember. You have to check in the Yes. Mm-hmm. That is true. Because for me, normally I would bring my horses home, but they have to stay there. Mm-hmm. You must check in the office, even if you have your own numbers, which I think is really important to remember. Make sure if you have a combination bridle, you need to have a throat latch. As of 9/1/24, you have to have that on there. And again, check the USDF Annex A. That is where that information is on all the bridles, all the bits, all the things that have come into play. This is also important. You may lunge in a snaffle, but you cannot lunge in a double bridle. So if you have a double bridle, a horse that's showing FEI and you have to lunge them, do not lunge them in your curb. It's an automatic elimination, actually. And we don't see anybody doing that. No one but the competition rider is allowed on horses entered in championship classes. So obviously I had Mary Rose with me, we checked her in, she's a member, all those things. And that horse wasn't in the championship classes. So that was fine. But Follow Me, Mary Pillar was the only one that was allowed on him on the grounds. So those are a couple little things. Mm-hmm,
those are great reminders. Yeah, thank you.
And also, the classes are huge. And so if you're still, because I think our regional was the first one. I think there's another one going on this weekend and they're going the next couple weeks. Really remember accuracy. Like that will kill your score. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, Megan. I think I texted you too privately that they were judging. It was no joke. I mean, they were very strict, and I'm not saying they shouldn't be, but I mean, if you were a meter off, they were commenting on it. I mean, my riders, every one of them came in with a 70% and were in the mid 60s and rode similar tests. So they were very, very picky. So I think that that's just something to remember as you're going through all of this. It's an amazing experience, but the judges are harder. And they're looking for national championship. I do not think anyone from our region hit a wild card score. Like it was very few, if anybody did. That's how tight the judging was. Yes. Wow. So it was tough. So those are a couple things, but remember to have fun. I mean, and here's the other thing. I had riders that were looking at the scores of their classes before they go. I think that's not a great thing to do.
No.
Because I had one rider text me. She's like, somebody just got a 77. And I was like, stop looking. It doesn't impact your riding at all. If anything, it makes you nervous. So
stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane and stop looking. Like that's not going to help you if you look. So those are a couple things. Yeah, from our regionals, but really have fun, enjoy it, laugh. And it's a big environment. This one, I think all the regionals are pretty big. This one was a big one. There were, and there's a lot more rules than our regular shows. So that was a little bit struggly. People were like, gosh, there's way more rules. But again, it's a national championship. So our regionals championship, sorry, not the nationals, but. So you kind of have to get used to that. So definitely ask questions, make the TDs your friend. There's lots of TDs. I think there were 4 TDs, I think, at our regionals, which was great. Saw there was great TD presence. And I think that was very, very good. So that was it, but it was good. Yeah. You go right in a couple weeks.
3 weeks. So I have a prep show. And then just to get all the jitters out, and then we go. And I'm super excited because Heather Peterson is the show secretary, and I love her. So I like to ask her all the questions. I'm that annoying person that emails her. However, actually, I already have. To make sure she got my entries. Just because it was like, I don't want to not get my entries in, because if you don't get them in, you're not going. Just like with nationals. I need to nominate, so hopefully I get to go to nationals. That's a goal. So we'll see. Yay!
Plus, I want to hang out, and I'll be there.
Yeah,
so
I want to go to Kentucky.
I know we want you here, so it's going to be fun. So yeah, I mean, again, Heather's amazing. All the show secretaries are fantastic. They will answer your questions. They're so patient, and they're very good. And if you don't know, ask. And that's the biggest thing. It's better to ask than to retroactively try to fix something. That becomes a real pain. So yeah. So all good stuff. Well, I love it. Well, we have an awesome show. We are going to celebrate para dressage today, and all the gold medals went to Americans. And Becca Hart, we're going to shout out to her. She's been on the show. She's wonderful about the show. She's just so busy right now. And I think you guys are all going to enjoy Ellie Brimmer, and she's going to talk to you about her experience and also how she won the national championship.
This Nutritional Minute is brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products. One of the most common mistakes seen in feeding programs is the underfeeding of commercial concentrates. Commercial concentrates are textured or pelleted feeds that provide energy, protein, vitamins, and minerals. Some common manufacturers are Triple Crown, Nutrina, Purina. You get the idea. Every commercial feed has a minimum amount you must feed in order to meet a horse's daily vitamin and mineral requirements. For most commercial concentrates, that level is somewhere between 4 to 6 pounds per day. A lot of horses will get too fat consuming feed at that level, so owners and barn managers feed less, and rightly so. It's not healthy for a horse to get too fat. However, if you are feeding less than the recommended minimum amount to your horse, you are not providing your horse with adequate nutrition. Microphase Vitamin and Mineral Supplement from Kentucky Performance Products can solve your problem. Microphase can be added to the diet as needed to fill in the nutritional gaps. Packed with nutrients but low in calories, you can adjust the feeding level of Microphase to meet your horse's requirements. Learn more about Microphase by visiting kppusa.com. Got questions about your feeding program? We can help. Email Karen at questions@kppusa.com or call us at 859-873-2974.
Well, truly tonight, we have already been partying off air. We finally decided we had to get on air. We have Ellie Brimmer. She is the USPEA president. She is also a national para dressage champion, and she just got back from the Olympics in Paris, the Paralympics. Ellie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here because it's a fun one. We get to talk about all our successes.
I know. Well, yeah, first of all, high five, cheers. You are a para equestrian national champion, Ellie. Tell us a little bit about what you've had. Quite a summer. Like, we have quite an update. So tell us a little bit about what it was like this summer in Lamplight.
Yeah. Well, the mare I was riding, I've been leasing her since the winter, and actually we just finalized the sale. So she's now mine.
Yes.
In the family. So
Yay!
that's really exciting. And so, and I knew it was going to be kind of an interesting show because Andrea wasn't able, my regular coach is Andrea Woodard, and she wasn't able to be there because she was coaching Roxanne Trennell at training camp in France for the paras. So I hooked up with Devin Kane, who was bringing her student. Sydney Collier was also going from Florida. So I kind of tagged in with their group, and that was, great. We had and then we also had a new young rider from the Midwest, Wisconsin, a girl named Paige Schmidt. So she also joined us. So because it was a Paralympic year, it was a small group, but it was mighty. So we were very kind of glad to be there. And I'm hoping that this next year we can have a big turnout since it's a non-championship year. And, Lamplight obviously was an extremely good show for me. Minnie was super. She's primarily been a practice horse for her old owner. So this has been her first show season ever. So even though she's 14, so
wow.
But she's just got such a good attitude, especially coming in with a different trainer and everything else. So I was not expecting the results I got, but I'll take it all day.
73, girl. I'll take it 73 all day long. Well,
yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah. So I was so happy with her, and we had a good show. And it was kind of good news, bad news. Our division was early in the week, so we had to wait for the shipper to go back to Florida because he was bringing all the other Florida horses from the other divisions. So it was like a mini vacation, got to stick around all week and see some young horse classes, see some, junior young rider kids, all that fun stuff. So it was, I'm originally from the Midwest. I'm from Minnesota. So this is kind of a quote unquote local show for me growing up. Yeah. And it was really nice to be there, and we had a great time. They put on a really, really good show.
Great. Well, congratulations. I mean, that was I was cheering you on, and I was kind of upset you stopped in Lexington. Your mom lives pretty close to me, about an hour away. And you guys stopped at my favorite ice cream store. I was like, I would have come to meet you. So next time I want this celebration, Crank and Boom, on your way back home.
Yeah, we have to plug Crank and Boom because that's I was like, that's what I want to celebrate.
Say less. I would have come for the celebration. So next national champion, I'm coming. And you drove back to Florida, girl, and then you turned around and been right to Paris pretty much, right?
Yeah, I had 4 days at home. And, I decided to drive to Lamplight because just like with the logistics, with all your equipment and everything else and the dog, I had the time and it just ended up being easier. And I have a passionate hatred for rental cars. So
say less. We get it. Yeah.
It was just easier. And plus I got to see my mom, and my other horse is currently in Kentucky doing rehab. So that was good. Yes, I had 4 days at home and then zipped off to Paris and got to head to Versailles. And I rented a cute little Airbnb, which was kind of like one of those first apartments you get out of college, like a studio.
I was like watching you online. I was watching on Facebook. I loved Ellie's journey. I was like, I love this.
Yes.
I was like, I think I lived in this place. Like, I think I've been there.
And it was 350 meters from the venue. So
stop it.
You can't beat that. So that was very convenient. And plus the price was way cheaper than getting a hotel. So we will take that all day. Yeah. And, it was beautiful. Like the way that I got to the park was my entrance was actually on the back side. So luckily, except for the first day, they had shuttles for people with disabilities. So instead of having to do the 50-minute walk through the park, I was able to grab a shuttle and get a nice, pretty little tour of the park and then head over to our stadium steps. And I got to say, I got to give a huge plug to the volunteers because, every volunteer, anytime I've gone to a major event like this, and especially, the Paralympics, every volunteer I've interacted with has been just wonderful. There's volunteers from France, there's a guy from America, there's, people from Belgium, they were from all over. So it was so nice to kind of see the world come together and really help us put on such a great show.
Well, we've got to transition to the team. Holy smokes. Yes. Can you give an update on the gold medal American team?
Okay, so this is the first time ever that Great Britain has not won gold in the Paralympics in the modern era. So this was just freaking fabulous to have America be the one to get number one for the first time besides Great Britain. It was huge, just a huge accomplishment. And, I know all these girls really well, and they all really put their best foot forward. And not to mention, para is a little different at the Paralympics. We kind of are we get to have 4 riders compete the first day, and then they kind of choose the 3 to go forward to the team. And it was amazing. Every single one of our riders qualified forward to the freestyle. We did not have a single finish outside of the top 5. So even though Kate Shoemaker was our individual, she put forth, got to give her due too. She put forth a fabulous performance and got a bronze in the freestyle division as well. And so, I was just, it was so thrilling to be there. And we had a nice little contingent of, American fans that were able to go over. And so we had a good group of people cheering. And I tell you, the USA pins became a very hot commodity as we were doing so well in the trading. But I'm a terrible trader. I gave most of mine away.
I heard that's a thing for sure.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit, Rebecca Hart. Wow. I mean, she's been on the show.
I was so happy for Becca because, she's been at this the longest out of all our group that was there. And, and she really, her partnership with Flora is just beautiful. So lovely. And it was so great to see, she's worked so hard at this over the years. And it was so great to see everything really, because we knew we were coming in with a strong team. The whole time I was watching the rides, I was, texting with David Strickland from Dressage Analytics, being like, okay, what score do we need now?
That would be so nerve-wracking. Oh my God. He's like, hold on, I got you. Well, she had a personal best, right? In the freestyle?
Yeah, it's amazing because, you always talk about trying to peak at the right time, right? Yes. And we really had everybody peak at the right time, which, was just fabulous. And I'm really glad that, I feel like, going forward into this next cycle, that going into LA, that para can really be a spotlight for us at USDF too. So.
And Fiona Howard and Diamond Dunes grade 2 combination won their 3rd consecutive gold medal. Incredible. Yeah. And Roxanne Trussell and Fantastico H. Did I say that right?
Yes, Fanta. Yep. And he's only 7. He was the youngest horse in that grade 1 division.
Grade 1 earned silver. Shoo.
Yep.
Amazing. What is the youngest age they can compete, Ellie? Is it 6?
They can be 6, yeah. So.
Okay. Yeah. So he was right on the edge there. I love it. Yep. Oh my gosh. It was truly amazing. And I can imagine watching the medal ceremony. I cried. I saw Becca's and I cried because I've known Becca forever. And I cried. I was like in my arena, like it was like, oh my gosh, I was so excited. It was
I tell you, the United States anthem hits different abroad for sure.
Yes. Yeah, right. Exactly. Oh my gosh. That is so cool. And then, so the Netherlands was silver, Germany took bronze, Italy 4th, France 5th, Great Britain was 6th.
Whoa.
Oh boy.
It was a big shock.
Yeah.
So, but it's, I think it's good to see, like, I think it's good for the sport to have, like, Michelle was saying in our meeting the other day, it's good for the sport to see other countries come up. And so it's always, it's not always the same faces. I think that shows a sign of real growth. So I'm very happy we could be a part of it.
Fantastic. I love it. And like you said, moving forward to LA, I mean, wow. Right. So what's the next thing for Para? Everyone hopefully is going to get home, take a little bit of a deep breath as they need to.
So I think, there'll be some CPETs this year, and hopefully, I think people will kind of keep going a little bit to stay in the eye of the judges. And then our next major championship is the World Championships, which I believe are in Aachen in 2026.
That's right. That's right. Next year's a little bit of a quieter year, and then back at it in 2026. I love it. Yeah. I love it. Well, Ellie, truly, you're just such a wonderful ambassador, national champion, and just seeing your journey in Paris was amazing. So we can't thank you guys enough. Anybody that's listening that's interested in Para or sponsorship, ownership, riders, you have someone in your family you want. How do they get a hold of you if they need some help in navigating? Because sometimes it can be a little daunting.
Yes, definitely. I'm sure you guys can list my email, but it's elliebrimmer@USPEA.org. And please reach out to us because, like, this is something, I've been on both sides of it. Like, I've loaned out my horse and I'm an athlete as well. And it's something that is, I think any of our sponsors will tell you, is such a satisfying journey and partnership because you really get to see the harmony between these horses and riders. And I think it's an extremely rewarding thing to do. And if you think a horse is a good fit for it, definitely reach out, or if you want to be involved in some way, please let us know and we'll definitely be happy to work with you.
Awesome. Well, Ellie, as always, thank you so much. And thank you for sharing your journey. Yeah. It was wonderful to watch all summer. I was enjoying all of it.
Thank you.
Well, tonight for our USDF update, we're so excited to have Evvie Lancione, USDF Member Education Coordinator, back on the show. Welcome back, Evvie.
Hello. Thank you. I'm excited to be back.
You've got lots of exciting things, including our book club. Bump, bump.
Woohoo!
We're very excited. First of all, we have a keyword, don't we? For everybody who's listening for the book club, we have a keyword for you because you need this to give to Evvie to get points for listening to our podcast.
Yes. So our little method of getting everyone credit for listening to the podcast episodes about book club is the keyword. So when you hear the keyword, you're going to email it to bookclub@usdf.org. That goes to me, and you will get 0.25 education credits. The keyword for Debbie McDonald Riding Through book is Flanagan's Falling Star, which was the name of her little pony.
Yes,
so again,
I love it.
Flanagan's Falling Star. It's a long one, but it's a cute one.
It's a cute
one.
Do
Reese and I get to send it in too, so we get points?
I will definitely give you your credits.
Good question, Megan. Thank you. Good. I'm glad. Okay. Now that we have our credits, I love it. Evvie, what is going on at USDF? Because you have been working hard in this book club. So let's keep talking about the book club, right? So you're listening to this podcast.
Definitely. So we
email Evvie, then what?
Okay. So we got our webinar for our book club little meeting scheduled finally. It is going to be Tuesday, October 8th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. 8 p.m. Lexington time at USDF headquarters. I will be kind of interviewing Nancy Jaffer, who was the co-author of Riding Through. And the best part is going to be that same bookclub@usdf.org email. Anyone who's listening who has any questions for Nancy about the writing process, about the time she spent at Debbie's farm to get the book kind of compiled, they can send me questions to ask her, and we'll talk to her about it on the webinar.
I love it. I love it. And
Awesome.
you'll get to hear her today on this podcast too, because we just did an interview with her as well. And I think you guys are all going to really enjoy hearing her story and hearing about her. And I think it's going to be a really, really good thing. All right. Well, what's the next item of business?
So we have a virtual education series session coming up. It's actually going to be next Monday, which will be it'll be before this podcast episode airs. But for anyone who misses it, it's going to be recorded, edited, and posted on the USDF website. And it's actually talking about new rules for equipment checking, kind of addressing the rules for tack and equipment at dressage competitions. And it's also going to be helpful because it'll explain some of the why of the rules for tack that we have in dressage competitions. And that is always helpful for training. You know, there's a reason behind every rule.
Yeah. And I can kind of talk a little bit about that too, because I'm on the high performance rules committee. There is a reason why. And I can tell you, we spend lots of hours. Those calls are at least 2.5 hours each call. And we have one at least once a month. And I think Jean Krause is doing that, isn't she? And she's amazing. She's amazing. And we talk, and she's so receptive, and she's so smart. And I love Jean. She loves competitor education. She will explain to you why everything is done. That our particular committee has judges and TDs and trainers and breeders, and everyone is represented there. So there isn't something that goes through that hasn't been discussed. Trust me, all the I's dotted and the T's crossed before anything comes out, because it's so important.
Yeah,
and Jean's great.
Everything that goes into it is for the welfare of the horse. And that's kind of what the objective of dressage is. We're making the horse the best they can be. And that's where all the rules come from.
And safety of the riders too. I mean, there's all that is discussed heavily. And, you know, we're always watching. I was at Region 2, so was Jean. There, a couple things would happen, and I would run over to Jean and that didn't work the way it was supposed to. We need to relook at that.
Flag on the play. Yeah.
Flag on the play. We're always kind of watching so that things work smoothly, and that everyone is having a good time, and everyone's safe, and we're able to do all the checks that they need to do and that kind of stuff. So it's a good thing. So I'm excited for that webinar. I'm going to look forward to it myself.
I know.
And how do we find that?
So much.
Yeah. How do we find that?
That is going to be on the virtual education series webpage of the USDF website. The registration link will be up. It's definitely been posted on USDF social medias. Just click on that, fill out your info, and you'll get reminders for the webinars.
Perfect. I love it. That's a great one. What's the next thing?
So last thing I have to cover is that registration for convention is open. And that's this year going to be in Houston, Texas.
Yeah, we're going. I'm excited for some steaks.
I can't
wait.
wait.
Almost
Martini and a
definitely
steak.
Be there.
Oh my God. Martinis and steaks. Everybody, I'm excited. If you want to go with us, Megan and I'll go. We're going to excited.
I'm going.
Yeah, we're going.
Gosh,
we're going to be there.
We can have a book club steak night.
We're going to MC something, right? There's going to be something that Megan and I get to MC. It'll be fun. Don't worry. What could possibly go wrong with Megan and I MCing?
The plan is to have a book club, kind of like a book club meeting session as one of the education sessions there. So that would be super fun to kind of get everyone together. That'll be doing the virtual format. Yeah. Everyone at convention can kind of get together and have it like a normal in-person book club.
I love it. We're going to be there. I mean, our book club nights are rowdy. I'm just saying, it just depends on, we can have a good time. Yeah, it could be fun. So this is going to be awesome. I love it. Well, and also just a couple things that I'm thinking about. If you have not done your nomination for finals and you're going to the regional championship, and obviously ours has already passed. Region 2 it was last weekend, but that's just a reminder for anybody who hasn't done that and hasn't gone to their regional finals yet. Like Megan hasn't gone yet. Do that nomination. It's on the US finals. It's free. It's easier if you do it now before. It's not easy. At some point, you can't do it anymore, and you will not be eligible with finals. And you can get into finals several different ways. So even if you're not 1 and 2, sometimes you'll get an invitation, but you have to say that you want to go. So that's just a reminder for everybody as we're doing this update. So I love it. Well, cool. Well, Evvie, you've been working hard, girl. Thank you so much for all the work you put into this.
Thank you, Evvie.
Of course, thank you for having me. Great to talk to you always. And if anyone has any questions for me, education programs, that kind of thing, my not book club email, is education@usdf.org.
Perfect. And the book club email one more time, and we'll do the keyword one more time.
Okay, book club email, bookclub@usdf.org. And the keyword is Flanagan's Falling Star. Try your
Love
best to
it.
spell it right, because it's definitely in the book that everyone has read. And it's an important pony.
Yes, exactly. It's an important pony. So we hope you enjoy, and we enjoy this book because it's a great book, and it was a really good choice. So
it's such a great
glad we got
read.
to read it. So excellent. Well, thank you, Evvie. Have a great night, and we can't wait for
Thank
another
you.
update
Y'all
soon.
have fun.
Well, tonight we are so excited to have Nancy Jaffer on. She wrote with Debbie McDonald, Riding Through an Olympic Medalist, Lessons on Life and Dressage. And this is the USDF and our book club. Nancy, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
We're thrilled to have you. Nancy, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Wow. Well, I'm an equestrian journalist. I've been covering the sport for decades. I don't want to be more specific than that. I've covered. I've been to 9 Olympics to take photos and do interviews and coverage. And I've also been to all the World Equestrian Games and many, many World Cup finals. I have a website, nancyjaffer.com, and it's known as Nancy Jaffer Equestrian Sports. But I cover all kinds of equestrian disciplines and activities and people. I'm very interested in the people of all the sports, dressage, show jumping, Western, English, hunter jumper, whatever. And the website is updated almost daily. I have a lot of big stories on there. And I also do freelance work for a variety of publications, including Horse and Hound in Great Britain. And I've written several other books as well. So I'm busy all the time with anything involving horses.
You are busy. Wow. I want to say I love this book. It was really easy to read, and I loved all the photos. What was it like to write a book with Debbie McDonald? Was it easy? Was it fun?
It was, people are always saying whenever I go to an Olympics or, some big event, was it fun? Well, usually I enjoy my work and I am very dedicated to my work. But fun is, like going to the beach or going to a party or something. But this was fun because she is a wonderful person. And it was a very long project, as you can imagine. And she lives in Idaho and I live in New Jersey, and it's not easy to get from one to the other. So there was a lot of traveling involved and a lot of time. And every minute that I spent with Debbie, I can honestly say this, I appreciate it because she was so busy. That was when she was riding still in the Olympics and World Games. And so it was a tough time for her to put aside a few moments every day to talk with me and work with me. And we did a lot when we were in Idaho when she was teaching her lessons privately, because we were able to illustrate things that we felt were important for the book. So we could ask the rider to do a shoulder in, and then Debbie would explain all the mechanics of it, or, work on a pirouette canter, that kind of thing. So it was very interesting. And I had come up with this idea because I knew Debbie. I'd been covering the sport for so long and been covering her competitions. But I went to a clinic that she gave in New Jersey. And when she started explaining things, which obviously she didn't do in competition, I could see that there was a lot there that people would benefit from. And so that's when I approached her about doing the book. I was a freelancer at that time for Prime Media Network, which has had several evolutions since then and different names. But at that time, they were doing a lot of books. And so we organized that this would happen. And it was just a great, great project that took place over several years. And one of the most exciting things was meeting Adrienne Lyle, who was her working student. That was when Adrienne had just come to work with Debbie. And of course, you know that Adrienne has gone on to be in 3 Olympics and is a testament to the fact that Debbie's way of doing things works.
Yeah. She would have been a kid at that point. Well, talk to us about, one of the things that you love, or I loved about this book, is it was a real step-by-step honest talk about training horses. Can you talk a little bit about that approach?
Well, I think that this book is meant for everybody, from somebody who's contemplating dressage or just starting in it, up to the Grand Prix level. And Debbie can work with anybody. I've seen a lot of top trainers who are wonderful, but they can only work with people at Grand Prix level. And Debbie can work with anyone and make them better. And the step-by-step approach is the only way for somebody who's just starting out in the sport to get started the right way. I think we all know about starting the wrong way, and that can leave you with problems that don't disappear over the years and generally only get worse. So we thought if we could get people to have a good basis and a proper basis and understand the discipline and figure out what they needed to do, what they wanted to do, where they were going, because people will get started in it and think, oh, they see themselves in the Olympics or they see themselves at the World Games, and that doesn't always happen. So we also wanted people to be able to say, this is what I want to achieve, and it's modest goal, and I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to see where I am after that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I loved the different sections of it. You went through, well, Debbie went through a whole Grand Prix test, and I felt like I was riding it with her. I really, really appreciated that. And then you went to a question and an answer. And how did you decide all the sections? Plus, going through the levels, it's really a unique book, in my opinion.
I think because we spent so much time together, it was almost automatic the way things happened. It just seemed logical and everything fell into place. And a lot of books, unfortunately, in the equestrian world, they're done in a big hurry. And so they leave out things and you finish it and you go, that was okay, but what about this? And what about that? And we didn't want to leave any major questions unanswered. I also put together a panel of my friends who were riding at a stable where I was at that time, where I had my horses. And they looked at the draft several times and said, gee, I don't understand this. Or could you mention how we do that? And it was a huge help. And then at the end, when the book was published, we had a little party at a local bakery near us. And they were all around the table. I think the picture's in the book. And, we all celebrated it because everybody had contributed something, whether it was a thought or a question or an idea. And that was such a nice feeling because those are the people we're trying to reach. People like my friends, people at this local barn.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things that I loved about it. Like I was just leafing through while we were chatting and like, for example, walk pirouettes, there's step-by-step pictures on how they're supposed to be done. And I'm like, it's just a great way. In my case, I teach a lot. So for me, just to even have a refresher or how can that be done differently? Or can I explain that a little bit better? I thought you guys did a really good job of explaining kind of the step-by-step process, which was great. I really appreciated that.
And again, you mentioned the walk pirouette. Well, that may be as far as somebody gets, after they've done their basics. And it's nice to know that you're doing it right and you're not ever going to be doing a counter pirouette or a piaffe pirouette, but you're doing a little pirouette. You're getting the idea of what it's supposed to be about. And to me, that's really important.
I agree. And I like too, the behind the scenes, a little bit about Debbie's history. Because I had the honor of working with Debbie when she was the developing coach. I worked with her a lot. I had a horse at the time in that program. And I didn't know a lot of her history, which was quite fun to hear how she started in the 100 jumper world. And I thought that was great how you kind of went into that. Do you want to talk a little bit about her history?
Well, it's really interesting. And I think one of the things that explains a lot about Debbie is a picture of her on her pony. Yes. I think it's fairly early in the book. Yeah. And that pony isn't what was his name? Falling Star, I think, Flanagan's Falling Star. Yes, but Flanagan's Falling Star. It wasn't a fancy pony. And you see where she came from in that picture. She's a little big for the pony and her clothes aren't fancy and the pony isn't fancy, but it was a start and it was something that was important to her. And that's where her love of horses developed. It was something she always wanted to do. And she moved up through the levels in a very organized way once she started with dressage. As you mentioned, she was a 100 jumper person. And after she had her son, Ryan, she had a bad fall jumping. And she decided, and her husband, Bob, decided that perhaps it was best for her not to jump. And she started off with Hilda Gurney. I mean, talk about starting off in dressage lessons at the very top. To me, that would have been very intimidating. But she learned Grand Prix before she learned anything else almost. She didn't go up through the levels because she was already a good rider and she understood horses. But she had an aspiration. That's what I was talking about before. You have a goal that you set for yourself. And what level do you want to ride at? And she knew. So let's start at the top and get that all straightened out. And then you can go for it.
I have to say, I love the honesty of the book. It really shines through. And I always get that feeling when I meet Debbie, and to see or read behind the scenes and what it was like to qualify for the Olympics. I didn't know about the behind the scenes, and her tale always seems like a fairy tale. And it was nice to resonate with her on the struggle of getting to the Grand Prix and that she accomplished her dream. So I just wanted to thank you for that.
Well, she is not a dressage queen. She is the opposite of a dressage queen.
Yes, it's true.
She deserves the title of some kind of royal title for dressage, but not the people say, DQ, they're fussy and they're matchy and they're silly and, they don't have the horse's interest at heart. Always the horse was first with her. And she loved Mama, which was the nickname of Brentina. And the two of them were just a couple. They belonged to each other, and they spent time together when they weren't training or showing or anything else. It was just the two of them enjoying each other. And to me, that's so wonderful if you can do that, particularly at the high level at which she was competing.
Right. Well, I think that at the end of the day, I always say that I'm like a kid in a pony. I used to love my ponies. I like to go out and give them treats and kisses, and that makes my day. And you can see that really, really comes forward with Debbie. And I truly think this book was a great start to our book club for USDF, because anybody can resonate with her story, but it goes through when you should horse show, when you should move up, when you shouldn't move up. It kind of step by step goes through that process, which I think is phenomenal. So Nancy, kind of as the final question, we chose this book because it does go step by step through many movements, and also when you should show and how you should show and when you should move up and what are the expectations. Is there anything else you kind of want to give to our listeners about this book and as they read it?
Well, I would say that the book is a companion, just as your horse is a companion. And it's something that you can pick up at any time and you can go back to. If you're having trouble with one movement, perhaps you need to go back a few pages and work on something else. For instance, work on a pirouette canter before you work on the canter pirouette.
Yeah.
And that's the way Debbie does things. It's very methodical. It's very sensible. It's very kind to the horse. And I think it's a lifetime book. That's how I feel anyway, that it's something that you don't just read and put down and say, well, that was fun. Where's the next book? No, this is something that can guide you for a long time. And that was the idea, because it's very hard, particularly for people working on their own, as so many people do, to really understand the nuances of dressage. And they may give up and feel like, I'll never make it. And if you read about Debbie's story and her struggle and what it took for her to get where she got, that's a little bit encouraging. Or I hope it's a lot encouraging, actually.
I thought it was a lot.
Definitely.
Yeah, it was a lot.
And that people should know that it isn't always easy. And for somebody like Debbie who's at the top, there also was a bottom, and she had to come up from that. And I think that's just a good moral lesson for everyone. And that's Debbie. She's just a good, kind person who is very talented, understands horses, understands people, and never goes beyond what is necessary, never goes beyond. She never goes into an extreme, which so many people, and we've seen the extremes, and they're not pretty. And she knows how to get things done in a very regulated and at the same time intuitive fashion, so that it works for the horse and it works for the rider, and people can tailor their own story and their own way of training through reading this book and using it as a basis.
I love it. Well, Nancy, thank you so much for your time. Can you tell us again your website? And again, you wrote Riding Through with Debbie McDonald, and we appreciate it so much.
So glad, and I hope everybody enjoys it, and I hope more people get introduced to dressage through it and improve their training and their learning levels with it. It means a lot to me, because this book was really kind of a work of a lifetime. My website is called Nancy Jaffer Equestrian Sports, but you reach it at www.nancyjaffer, Jaff like Frank, ER.com.
Awesome.
And
Thank you
so
much.
I'll be at Dressage at Devon next week. Will you be there?
Oh, fun. No, I'm not going, but enjoy. It's always such a fun show.
Absolutely. And a great chance to talk to people, because there isn't the tension that you run into, at the often in Wellington or at the 5 Stars elsewhere.
Yeah.
So this is a chance to really get people where they're relaxing a little bit and they can kind of reveal a little bit more of themselves to you, which I enjoy.
Love it. We'll have a great time for us. Well, Megan, I am so excited because we are ready to announce our next book club book, which is going to be great. This one we're going to have through this quarter, and we're going to have a book club meeting at convention where we're all going to get together for this. So drum roll, please. It is Dressage for the Not So Perfect Horse, written by Janet Foy. So I think that's going to be fabulous. I hope everyone can get it through Trafalgar Square Books, which is horseandriderbooks.com. And we're really looking forward to having Janet on, but also doing this at convention as well. It's a new addition to the book club. Well, as always, everyone, you can find our show notes and links to today's guest on our page at horseradionetwork.com. Search Dressage Radio Show. Like us on Facebook, just search Dressage Radio Show. My website is maplecrestfarmky.com, and my email is reese@horseradionetwork.com.
And my website is lindenhoff.com, and my email is lindenhoffllc@gmail.com. We'd like to thank our friends and show sponsors, Kentucky Performance Products. If you'd like to support our show and the Horse Radio Network, you can do that through the auditor program found at horseradionetwork.com. Keep on kicking on until the next show. Talk to you soon. Yahoo!